Today is 13th of April. It's the birthday of one of the greatest, maybe of the greatest player in the history of chess, Garry Kasparov. Just Robert Fischer can be equal to him, nobody else. Garry Kasparov is absolutely great figure, not just in chess. After chess career, he went to the politics. Nowadays, he stays mostly in New York or in Croatia, which citizen he is. Garry Kasparov did fantastic things for chess. Even nowadays, even our Kasparov Chess Foundation Academy is really working because of his power and of his ideas. He established few organizations in former times for professional chess players. He made fantastic books, my great predecessors. It was really very well written and is the best way the history of modern chess. Garry is nowadays is doing a lot, even chess. Soon it will be started next edition of Grand Chess Tour of series of few tournaments: Warsaw, Bucharest, Zagreb, and St. Louis. With all practically top world players participating in different forms. Garry Kasparov, because of his birthday on 13th of April, he is really for him 13 is very special number. He became world champion number 13, and it was very interesting for me to check what Garry Kasparov did on the chessboard on the 13th of April. He has fantastic games. He won incredible powerful games where we were with him in Soviet youth team. We met first time in 1978, and we were in Soviet youth team. Spent a lot of time playing each other on the camps of national team, where we played a lot of football, a lot of blitz, and we had a lot of fun. So it was extremely happy time for us all. And since that time, I know Garry Kasparov well, and I know his scale of his unbelievable talent. But I was trying to find the game, what he did on 13th of April, which game he played. And it was very funny that Garry was avoiding to play games on his birthday. It is another story, famous story from chess world, when in famous Euro tournament in 1938 in Netherlands, it was 50th birthday of Jose Raul Capablanca, and he played in this day game against his fierce opponent Alexander Lekhin, and it was big disaster for great champion. So some players are really avoiding to play on their birthdays, and Garry played just one game during his birthday. It was in tournament in Banja Luka when he made his first international grandmaster norm in former Yugoslavia in 1979. He played with white against Walter Brown. So let us see this game, which is dedicated to the birthday of the greatest player in the chess history. So d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, b6, and a3. It was favorite system of Garry. He won so many beautiful games. He developed theory so well. But every variation comes to its end. I mean, to end of its use. And then Garry stopped playing it, but his results were incredible. and he really was a father of modern Petrosian variation. So usually people played bishop b7 d5 against Garry, but Walter Brown played c5, d5, bishop a6, queen c2, pawn d5, pawn d5, and here was played d6. It was some other games. Garry won against Grandmasters Fedorovich, against Gligorich, and it was very interesting that he played himself against Boris Gelfand and won. Let us see this game, yes? Knight c3. It was bishop f4 against Gligorich with very good play, queen a4, here check, queen d7, and after e4, white got great position in the center. So in the game was played Garry played knight c3, a bit different, and Boris Gelfand castle d6, castle rook b8, rook e8, really rook e1, knight d7, was played h3, b5, e4, and here it was one of the best novelties which Garry prepared with his team. Not queen c7, but he played very special move, queen c8, when queen is protected, yes. And after bishop f4, b4, knight a4, followed fantastic b3, queen e4, and knight e4, and Garry obtained slightly better position. It was his only game against Petrosian variation with black, and so he have chosen this system with c5, and one brilliant game against Boris Gelfand. But Brown played d6, knight c3, knight d7, bishop f4, stopping g6, bishop d7, bishop must go to e7, bishop g2, rook e8, castle. If b5 here, it would be followed by the very strong and typical b4, stopping all counterplay on the queen side. Walter Brown played here after castle, he played knight h5, bishop d2, knight f6 back, rook e1, bishop f8, a4, knight g4, now knight b5, very strong move, bishop b7, e4, a6, knight a3, because knight will be transferred to c4. On a3, you know, it's not that the rule knight on edge is bad. It's knight on the road to the better position. So rook b8, h3, knight f6, bishop c3, queen c7, knight d2, improving another knight, bishop c8, now bishop f1, bishop enters the game, stops b5, and g5 suddenly. After knight e5 would follow f4, queen d3, with next queen f3, and white has fantastic position, black has huge problems with the space. So for this reason, Brown tries g5. It reminds of some Fischer ideas, because Fischer allowed g5 to play in this kind of positions. Knight f3, h6, now knight c4, b5, pawn takes. And here was critical position. Of course, Garry could play simply typical for this position, knight a5, then knight c6, with advantage. But Garry plays directly e5 in the center, yes. Knight d5, knight d6, bishop d6, pawn d6, and queen d8. Here was possible some sharp attack like this, yes. Knight g5, pawn takes, rook e1, queen f8, and queen f5. This terrific attack, yes. So variation could be like this. Look, beautiful, yes. Queen g5, queen g7, check, knight f8. Oh, rook takes, king takes, and queen d8 check. It would be better end of the game, but Garry played queen is equally strong move, knight e5, knight b4, queen d2, and now it is extremely strong passed pawn d6, knight c6, queen e3 was played, white threats queen takes c5, if f6, then bishop takes, take, and queen e8, with next queen takes c6. So for this reason, Brown took on e5, queen takes, c4, bishop g2, bishop e6, and rook a7. Everything is improving, increasing pressure. Okay, Brown tries last chance because he has pawn majority on the queen side, and he tries to deflect white from pawn d6, threatening c3, for example, yes, and pushing pawn c to the fourth, to forward. But Garry found very nice, okay, we can say very small tactics, but this tactics is impressive. Look what he did. He played bishop e4, c3 followed, and suddenly bishop a7 check. King f8 he must take because king f8 is mate. So after bishop h7, king takes, and after queen e6 is incredible mating threat. So Walter Brown resigned. Simple but very elegant, and I think it was best present for young Garry to his birthday.